Hello and welcome to the Nurburgring. As predicted, it was a very unpredictable race weekend. We had sun, we had rain and we had sun. See for yourself, here are the highlights of the race weekend.
Yes, thanks very much, Farina. And of course, this circuit in the Eifel Mountains often has unpredictable weather. The DTM returning after its month's summer break. Well, this is a track where last year Audi dominated, had a 1-2-3 result. They've been on the pole here for a number of years running. But the man on fire this season, he's been on the podium in all 4 previous rounds, is Bruno Spengler, the French-Canadian. He heads the championship table with 32 points at the moment and was looking to improve that even further here. David Couldthard going out there, his yellow car now with new logos on the side. Let's check out the track. Here we are, quite close to Cologne, as I said, in the Eifel Mountains for this 5th round of the championship. A circuit that most of the drivers know pretty well. And we are using the 3.629 sprint configuration for the race this weekend. But what do the various drivers think of the track? First, Martin Tomczyk. The first thing that comes into my mind is the green hell. Of course, the Nurburgring is a mecca for tourists and race drivers. Nurburgring is a really nice track, a very fluent track. You have to adjust the aerodynamics so very well. Top speed's very important here, and I'm looking forward to coming to this race every year. I like the track, and I really always have fun here. And of course, Tomczyk was the winner of this race last year. The Nurburgring is close to my home of Köppen, where I grew up. The most difficult part is the Wiedol chicane, because you can get the wrong braking point and damage your car on the curbs. And that way, of course, you lose some time. Timo Scheider. Well, it's my home. I grew up near this track. And of course, this is very much a local setting for me, so I'm very keen to do well here. And I've managed to do that quite often in the past. So I arrive here in the Eifel with a very good feeling. But of course, the track's always full of surprises, particularly the weather. It can be hot or cold, it can be wet or dry. I've even had races in the snow here, says Timo. The Mercedes Arena at the first part of the track can be a very, very tricky section, I always find. The new Mercedes section is difficult to drive, and the long curves and the link road are difficult to get a good sighting on. Plus, there's the complicated weather conditions that often occur here. Sometimes you have heavy rain in the summer. So quite a mix here at the Nürburgring. It can be tricky. And how do the drivers rate it?
Ich würde sagen 7.
7.
Würde ich auch eine gute 7 geben, auf jeden Fall.
Timo Scheider also gives it 7.
Nürburgring ist sicherlich die etwas schwerere Strecke. Also
and Ralf Schumacher says I'd rate it 6 or 7. Martin Tomczyk says between 4 and 5.
Wobei das ist natürlich auch wieder Ansichtssache.
And there's the average, 6.3. Not exactly the most favourite track, but one of the more favourite circuits. As you heard the driver say, weather often a factor here, and it can change so quickly. This was 2008, at the end of the warm-up lap. Decision from some of the Audi teams to come in, and there you see, switch to slick tyres. Mercedes had set their decision and stayed with it. More Audis had to come in and make the switch. And so, early on in the lead, it was Mercedes-Benz with Paul Resta at the front. Here's those Audis coming in, costing them valuable time. And this time, Audi definitely got the decisions incorrect. Meanwhile, there, Bernd Schneider going well in 3rd place, and this is how he explained exactly what happened that day.
My engineer took the decision to stay on slicks because my personal feeling was heavy rain. But this was right to be on slicks and also to let me out on slicks and change the tires in the right moment.
And there is that vital pit stop.
How the Resta was in front of me and overtaking a teammate on the track is always difficult, but I passed him in the pit because he had a better strategy, and the car was just brilliant.
So here is Bernschneider now in the lead of that race. And you see the conditions changed again. Audi's gamble on the slicks certainly hadn't worked. Bernschneider celebrating. Norbert Haug too. Let's take a look at qualifying then. And Audi was struggling with understeer, but one man certainly was able to drive round it. Matthias Ekstrom. He took his 16th pole.
Very seldom I come into the pits and say I have no wishes for changes because the car is spot on, and then to end it on P1 is always fantastic. And I'm really happy for my team, for my mechanics and for my engineer Alex, because we have been working all the weekend.
However, Mercedes-Benz filled 2nd to 6th places, and that made Norbert Haug a very happy man.
We are 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, which is a great achievement, and now we wait and see what the race will bring.
And the man who won last year and in 2007, Martin Tomczyk, actually started from 14th place.
It was quite tricky to drive because the car changed quite a lot from free practice this morning to qualifying. I had no grip, especially on the front axles.
David Couldthard's getting to grips with the DTM, and he qualified in 10th position and was happy with that.
You know, I'm really enjoying to drive these cars. I'm not the best person at the moment at extracting the maximum lap time, but yeah, I think that was a reasonable day's qualifying.
And the reigning DTM champion, Timo Scheider, he started from 8th position on the grid.
And in the last run we had gearbox problems, so I was struggling to get the gears down to the Vidal-Set chicane, so we lost quite a lot of time there. It's disappointing, no question.
Alongside him on the grid, the rookie driver Miguel Molina, an excellent qualifying in 7th place from him. One spot better, Ralf Schumacher, on a track where, of course, he's won in Formula One in the past. He was 6th.
Well, in general, I'm pretty happy with being 6th today. I think it looked far worse this morning. Being in the top 8 with all HWIA cars is really promising for tomorrow.
Starting alongside Ekstrom on the front row of the grid, in 2nd place for the 4th time this season, the French-Canadian Bruno Spengler.
Try to make the best out of it on the inside. If I do a good start, maybe I can be first after the first corner. And then I just give my best and try to score maximum points tomorrow. We'll see. It's going to be a long race and a hard one.
So let's check out that top 10, Ekstrom and Spengler. Jamie Green in 3rd place, going well in the older car, and Paul di Resta, Gary Paffett, Ralf Schumacher, Molina, great qualifying, and Scheider, Oliver Jarvis 9th, and then David Couldthard in 10th place. Martin Tomczyk struggling there, and he was put back 3 more places later for an infringement. Engel, Rockenfeller, Stoddart, Legg, and the rest. Well, here we are in Cologne at the German Sports University, and a session of sports performance diagnostics for Bruno Spengler and Mike Rockenfeller. A race driver's performance capability from a sports medicine point of view can be a decisive factor between defeat and victory, and our 2 drivers will be put under the fitness microscope today, and they're being supervised by Dr. Heinz Kleinoder.
It's really important because it's quite intense to do a race, especially in DTM, because it's really hot in the car, and you know, we reach 3G in the corner under braking as well. That means yeah, you have to have a strong neck and a really good stomach muscles to really hold your position in the car. And that's why it's really important that you can push 100% throughout the whole race.
So, no pain, no gain. There's Rocky. Both drivers spent a lot of time and energy in their pre-season preparations, joining their teammates in a number of fitness camps in the off-season. The results of their labours will be evaluated today.
Yeah, the balance plate was very difficult, but very interesting because I could see that with my eyes open, I was quite good. It was quite good for me to stay very balanced, but when I closed my eyes, it was a bit more difficult to stay 10 seconds. I managed that with both feet to stay 10 seconds, but it was going a bit in the red area, so it was a bit more hard. Maybe I can work on this at home and try to get it better.
Interesting stuff.
For me, it was quite interesting. I learned, about one new, how you call it? It's like electrical vest to contract the muscles, and that was quite interesting for me. I've never used that before, and maybe for the future that's an option to optimize my training.
Ralf, 5 weeks ago at the Nurburgring, you ended up on pole. Superb performance, and now the qualifying yesterday you end up in position 6. Are you happy with the performance?
Well, I mean, yes, clearly looking at the way we performed before, I think we were pretty strong against Audi, so all cars in the top 6. That was pretty promising, and for myself, taking a bit of a performance that I showed in the Nurburgring here was good too.
There's a huge fascination around about the Nurburgring. What do you think is a fascination? What is it for you?
Well, I think it's pretty individual, whatever you think. For me, basically because I was born only 80, 90 kilometers away from here, had my first Formula car test here in Formula Junior at the time, and I guess that's really, the fascination for me.
And speaking of fascination, 2 years ago you collected your first DTM point here. So do you think for today's race it's a good omen?
I hope so. I haven't managed to score any points this year. I have been close to it, and I hope we'll fulfill this wish today.
Well, best of luck for the race today. Thank you very much, Ralf.
Ralf Schumacher, as we said, former winner here in the World Championship, looking down on this track, which was very wet in the morning. The warm-up was delayed, but the sun briefly came out for the start of the race, although there were still worries about possible rain during the actual event. Jamie Green getting ready there in P3. Bruno Spengler makes his final preparations. And there's Matthias Ekstrom just about to climb into the car before the start of this race. His pre-race thoughts.
The lonely Audi Ranger, how does it feel to have 5 Mercedes-Benz breathing down your neck?
Yeah, sure, it's always special to be on pole, but to have 5 Mercedes makes it a bit more exciting, that's for sure.
And speaking of exciting, the weather today was very exciting, also very unpredictable. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it would be nice if the sun would come up and it stay like it is, because racing in sunshine is much nicer than when it's mixed conditions.
But I guess it is going to be a very exciting race.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good now. There's no rain, what I can see, so I hope the rain stays away for an hour or so.
All right, thank you very much. Best of luck, Matthias.
And here's our virtual grid, and it is, of course, Ekstrom on the pole there, and alongside him, and in that second spot for the 4th time in a row, Bruno Spengler. Then 2 Brits on row 2, Jamie Green and Paul de Resta. Jamie, of course, having won the previous round at Nurburgring. More Brits, Gary Paffett, and then it's Ralf Schumacher in 6th place. Miguel Molina, great qualifying for him, and then Timo Scheider. Then Oliver Jarvis and David Couldthard in that 10th slot. Mario Engel and Mike Rockenfeller, obviously very fit for this one. Susie Stoddart and Martin Tomczyk. Terrible qualifying for Martin, Catherine Legg, Alexandra Pramat and the rest of the field. And look at this, here they go. Down into the very tight first corner, and Ekstrom has already lost 2 places, look, and it's Spengler straight into the lead. And look at Ekstrom, brakes late, goes very wide, and Ekstrom's going to drop further places there. problems. Susie Stoddart involved with a problem down there at the beginning. But just look at Spengler is already pulling away. Jamie Green well up. And also very good start from Timo Scheider, but a disastrous start for Ekstrom. Fortunately, the track completely dry. There's Jamie Green in second place. There is Winkelhock, must have been involved in that first lap incident. Disaster for him, disaster for Susie Stoddart. She climbs out of the car. These V8 tube frame supercars, some 470 brake horsepower, bouncing across those curbs. And Paul Resta moves up into second place, passes Jamie Green. The white car goes ahead of the silver-blue Mercedes. And it's the best of the Audis, which is Timo Scheider. He must have made a sensational start. Paffett fifth, Schumacher stays in sixth. Ekstrom dropped all the way to seventh. And Molina also didn't make a good start. He's dropped to 11th. Pramat and Engel both went past him. And David Couldthard got away very slowly also. And he dropped right to the back of the grid, still perfecting this rather difficult technique of starting these DTM cars. But Spengler really flying here. What a season he's having. Has not been off the podium this year. Other winners, of course, have included Gary Paffett in the opening round, Jamie Green in the most recent race, and the Audi versus Mercedes score this year. It's Mercedes 3 against Audi's 1. Go on board with Matthias Ekstrom. He's usually a great starter, so no idea what happened there. Just didn't get the launch quite right. This circuit, of course, in the shadow of the great Nordschleife, which is behind the main arena, where they still race regularly. In fact, there'd been a race the previous weekend. Spengler to Resta Green. At the back, it's David Couldthard. Needs to get past Catherine Legge. Martin Tomczyk hasn't made any progress. Thought he might. Winner here last year. What a difference that year has made. And Tomczyk having a very disappointing season this year. It was the same, in fact, the start of last season, and then Tomczyk really kicked his challenge into gear here at the Nurburgring last year with that great win. Let's see that start. Watch David Couldthard in the yellow car. Everyone has to go round him, and finally gets the car away. There's Cheng even going past, leaving David dead last. This is Ekstrom's launch here. And you see, he wasn't really getting the drive. There's Spengler, that's the boot of Spengler's Mercedes-Benz. And then look at Ekstrom now, too late on the brakes. Trying to make up for the poor start, goes very wide, almost into the gravel. And then, of course, various cars going by. That's Gary Paffett's boot that you see. Here's another view. And you see David Couldthard just being swamped by the other cars. That's Engel we're looking at. And on the right, Catherine Legge. You see it from above. It's another car slow away there as well. I think that was Cheng. Then the run down to this very, very tight hairpin, but there's lots of runoff. Quite a lot of locking up of the Dunlop tyres. Paffett well on the outside, and Ekstrom getting squeezed out. And then that mess at the back. DC got involved in that as well. Had he made a good start, he probably wouldn't have done. There's there's Cheng, I think it was, going off. Well, the Audi boys obviously disappointed with the start. One hope of beating the Mercedes-Benz, really blowing it on the first lap. And look at this! Oh, that's the incident where Cheng being pushed out there by Tomczyk. under brakes. Cheng taking the other way round the chicane. Spengler some distance ahead now. The French-Canadian who lives in the Alsace, right near the German border of France. Multilingual. Spengler to Resta green, that's the top three. Got another replay here. Well, that's the incident between Tomczyk and Cheng at the back of the field. See it again from another angle. That chicane has been modified over the years. This new Nurburgring circuit was built back in 1984. That's when they opened it. The track, of course, regularly hosting the German Grand Prix, but not this year. It was run at Hockenheim this year. The two main circuits in Germany sharing their big race. Occasionally, Formula One runs here, also under the banner of the European Grand Prix. They run on a longer circuit than this. Their Primat just going through the picture. Cheng being penalised, I should say. 3 seconds for that incident. He'll have to come into the pit stop. But I believe he can do it and then make his mandatory pit stop at the same time. As ever in the DTM, they have to make 2 pit stops. They will change all 4 tyres and squirt in some 20 litres or so of fuel. And those stops we've seen in the past as quick as 3 seconds. Spengler to Resta green, that's the top 3. Best Audi Scheider, then Mercedes 5th and 6th, and then it's Ekstrom, then Oliver Jarvis. Jarvis, of course, promoted to the top apt squad of Audis this season, running the current car. Here's a David Couldthard move down the outside. He moves up a place and goes past Martin Tomczyk. David just getting the braking about right, locking all 4 up, I think. Just a whiff of smoke from the Dunlops. On board here with Timo Scheider. Timo won the championship last year and the year before in this black car, challenging here on Jamie Green, but losing out, and drops behind Paffett as well. Had to compromise his line to try and get past. When it didn't work, then all of a sudden he goes back another place. Timo Scheider, who really hasn't been getting on too well this year with the new Dunlop tyres. Dunlop, at the request of the organisers, has changed the type of tyre they're running this year, and just Timo doesn't like the characteristics of them, and he hasn't been having a great season, it has to be said, and this is his best run of the year, I think, but all of a sudden he goes back, hoped to go up one place, instead goes back. There we see it from a couple of different angles, including Timo's own perspective. Jamie Green with the Young Stern car. That's the Mercedes brand for guaranteed second-hand cars. Good shot down there of that chicane, that Vidal chicane. Back on board with Timo Scheider. Pit stops will be coming up pretty soon, and yes, indeed, here gets Jamie Green into the pits, followed by Ekstrom. Teams are waiting. Stop on the line. Change of slicks. And both those stops taking rather longer than we expect. We'd think of certainly the average these days is 3.5, 3.6 seconds. Both losing a little time there. Ekstrom in the Red Bull car. The man who a month ago went out to America and raced so successfully in a NASCAR Sprint Cup event, albeit one of the road course tracks. Paffett comes in. Gary, former winner here, former champion, of course. Having a good season without, at the moment, having a great season. But remember, we're not halfway through this year yet. And a race at Adria in Italy has been added to the calendar. The race at the end of the year in China on the streets of Shanghai has been confirmed. Here's some better pit stops. Rockenfeller 3.5, Paffett 3.5. So it will be an 11 race series this year. So not quite halfway yet. There, Green, who is having an absolutely fabulous year. Scheider comes in to this very modern pits complex. I think there's some 33 garages down there. The App Sport team go to work. And Scheider 4.2. And let's see where he comes back into the field. If you're not used to the DTM, that little number 1 means they've made one of the 2 pit stops. And Scheider there trying to get in front of Jamie Green. They're side by side. Green's on the outside. But certainly Green trying to push to get past Scheider again, but good pit stop by Scheider. And Timo certainly showing the sort of skill we saw when he went to the championship last year and the year before. And now he's chasing hard after Gary Paffett. Gary, who lives in a little village near Bury St Edmunds in Britain's East Anglia. There is Ralph Schumacher. Schumi, pretty unlucky at the previous round at the Nurburgring. Put it on the pole there and then was adjudged to have jumped the start. Well, it's an electronic device which measures it, and it was just the meagerest fraction of a second he jumped the start by, apparently, but that got him a penalty and destroyed his race. As Scheider now comes in for his second set of tyres. And that's the view looking back down the pit lane. Here his crew waits. The cars are teamed up in pairs in the garage. So each crew changes 2 different sets of tyres for the different 2 drivers they look after. Engel going through with Rockenfeller just behind him. They're currently running in 7th and 8th place. Scheider now having made a second stop, so he's broken the race up effectively into a quarter, and then a half, if you're with me. So he's going to go the rest of the distance now on that final set of tyres, and is that a good move? Here is Paul de Resta ahead of Gary Paffett, 2 identical Mercedes-Benz, the latest spec cars from 2009, of course. The specs frozen, no new cars for 2010. Some of the other drivers, of course, running 2-year-old cars. Jamie Green, that car, that's his 3rd season in this particular car. And, of course, he's won all 3 of the last Nurburgrings in that machine. And that success a month ago catapulted him to near the top of the championship table, but the man who heads that, of course, is Bruno Spengler. He's heading this race. Here comes Paffett for his second stop. Has been the odd spot of rain, but the showers have really held off. I'm sure all the drivers and the team management pleased about that. Rockenfeller again going through in front of Oliver Jarvis. Paffett slots in behind them. So he's the second man to make stop number 2. Similar strategy to Timo Scheider. Ekstrom probably still wondering about that start. There's Rockefeller, there the Tabac original car of Oliver Jarvis, then Paffett, and you see those black clouds, they're certainly threatening. So Paffett with his second stop is currently in ninth, of course, as the others come into the pits. It takes about 21 seconds to come in, change and go out again. They will slip back. And Paffett could be on for a podium again. Couldthard now in 11th place. Pramat out of the action. Off camera, crashing into a barrier. So Pramat, who's under a bit of a yellow card from Audi at the moment, having been involved in some first lap incidents. Oh, look at those clouds. They're as black as the Dunlop rubber. Well, they could dump a lot of rain on the track, as they did this morning. In fact, some of the support events have been put back to the end of the day. Oh, look at David Couldthard there, goes past Oliver Jarvis. Well, it was only about 3 years ago where Jarvis, of course, received his McLaren Autosport BRDC award for the most promising racing driver in Britain from David Couldthard. He probably didn't think he'd be racing wheel to wheel with him in the DTM just a few years later, but that's exactly what's happening, and Couldthard's getting the better of that battle. We'll see it again. Oh, Jarvis locking up under the brakes, going straight across that chicane. And then losing momentum, and Couldthard diving down the inside, very good on the brakes. And David Couldthard moves up a slot. There's another angle. Good, clean move from the Scot. Spengler, De Resta, Paffett and Scheid are the top four at the moment. Green and Schumacher now. This is with everyone having made their second pit stop. There's Ralph. And it looks as if he will be in the points this time. Rockefeller in 9th, Couldthard 10th, Jarvis 11th. We just saw the move which changed that 10th and 11th spot. Molina, who was so quick in qualifying, down there in 14th place. Tomczyk really hasn't made any progress either. Indeed, he's behind Cheng. At the front, 3 Mercedes, then an Audi, then 2 more Mercedes. On board with Ekstrom. That difficult last corner, and then the downhill section past the pits and then into this hairpin. You have to get your braking absolutely right, and Ralf Schumacher putting a bit of pressure on Jamie Green. Ekstrom trying to close in on them. Closing stages of this race now. There is Spengler. What a year he's having. Seen him around the DTM for 6-7 years now. Did a little bit of racing in Canada, mainly in Formula Renault, but the great majority of his competition has been over here, mainly around the DTM. Oh, there's Susie Stoddart out early. She's back in the pits, obviously very disappointed. Scored her first points earlier in the season, first points of her DTM career. The girl originally from Oban, up there in the west of Scotland. Right over our camera. Over the last couple of years, there's been major developments here at the Nurburgring. A new big shopping arcade, a casino. And it really is very impressive. And also impressive is this man, Timo Scheider, today. Looks as if he's going to be the best Audi finisher. But Spengler certainly has looked after his tyres well. There's Paul de Resta. And then Paffett, the three Mercs, fairly equally spaced out. No challenge between this trio. Norbert Haug looks on, he's going to be well pleased with this day. Got a few worries from the Formula One side, but DTM's going well this year. Dr. Ulrich, of course, has masterminded that Le Mans success for Audi, but his DTM year has not been up to the standard of recent ones. Very little room for improving these cars because of the specifications being frozen. There are a few things they can change each race, but it's pretty minor. But it seems the Mercedes work these new Dunlop tyres better than the Audi. Suggestions perhaps that the Audi exhaust position, which tends to blast hot air onto the rear tyres, has something to do with that. The exhaust from them, there you see it coming out the sides of the Mercedes, it's angled more. Whereas with the Audi, it tends to flow over the rear tyres and heat them up. That is one explanation we've heard. Ralf Schumacher really close to Jamie Green now. Battle for P5. So Schumacher looks as if he's going to score his first DTM points of the year. Still the slowest of the current model Mercedes, it has to be said, but Ralf, in his third year of the DTM now, starting to get to grips with it. Down the gearbox, sequential manual shifts here though, no buttons to push. It's all done by that gear lever, and you can get it wrong. So the drivers do need to exercise some skill in the gear changing area. And Schumacher really trying to push Jamie Green. Green, of course, used to be in the top Mercedes group of four and then was put back to the outfit run by Ingvar Persson a year ago. His second year with Persson. Indeed, he drove for Persson in the earlier part of his DTM career. So he might think that Ralph's in the car that he should be in. Having said that, there's not that much difference between the older cars and the newer ones. The older cars are allowed to run 25 kilos less in weight. So that could be a bit of an advantage on certain tracks. Not so much here at the Nurburgring, I'd say. So, closing 4 minutes of this race. Tomczyk and Molina running in 13th and 14th positions. And well, Martin Tomczyk, got to put this down as his most disappointing race of the year, I would think. The fact that he won here a year ago makes it all the more galling that he can't get a good setup here this year. There's Paul de Resta. He'll be happy with a podium finish. Well, that was Paul having a very big lock-up on the brakes. Man who lives near Edinburgh and is also doing double duty this year as the reserve driver for Force India and runs in most of the Friday morning Formula One practice sessions where he's been doing an outstanding job. Paul just going a little bit wide there, getting a bit ragged in these closing stages of the race. Spengler has driven the absolute copybook race here, hasn't he? Hasn't put a foot wrong. Great start, 2 good pit stops, and really hasn't been challenged. So, not much to be resolved in these final couple of minutes or so. Jamie Green still under pressure, however, from Ralf Schumacher for the 5th place. That's the gap between 2nd and 3rd. Here's that Schumacher battle with Jamie Green. And I think Jamie Green is going to defend this pretty stoutly. And Green just kicking up a little bit of dirt. You can see the windscreen of Ralph's car is, well, pretty smeared now. Down the gearbox, left, right, bumping over that chicane, and Ralph just pulling out a little bit, see if he can get the drive down the inside, but he can't. And they head off onto the last lap now, and can Jamie Green hold off Ralf Schumacher? Meanwhile, further round the lap is the man who's led throughout, Bruno Spengler. And here is Spengler now just reeling off the final 2 or 3 corners to head to his second victory of the year. Paul de Resta and then Gary Paffett to Brit's second and third. And Timo Scheider doing an outstanding job to be the best of the Audis, but never really in the hunt, but certainly moved up from his grid position. Ralf Schumacher at the wheel of the C-Class Mercedes as Spengler comes around to take the checkered flag. Great day for the Canadian. He takes the victory here. It was never really in doubt. Paul de Resta finishes second. A little wait until Paffett in third. What about this battle? Green still in front. Green will hold off Schumacher, surely. Scheider takes the flag in fourth place. There's Green. There's Ralph. Audi flags wave, but they've little to celebrate, really. And the rest of the field coming through. Schumacher gets his first points of the year. Bruno Spengler moves up even further in the lead of the championship. His victory margin 2.8 seconds over Paul de Resta, Paffett third. Then there the rest of the field. Oliver Jarvis a disappointing 11th and Cheng in 12th place.
Yeah, for sure it was a disappointing result because first the start of Matthias, and then if you look at it, it was just not possible for him as well to bring the performance that we thought that we would have. We have to go into that and we have to work on it. There is no way to give up. We are going to fight, and it's a lot of motivation now to go into that and catch up, because the championship is still some races long, and fighting to the very end is the only way to have success, and we will fight for coming back and beating the guys at the next race.
So hopefully we will see that in Zandvoort.
We will push on that.
Yeah, and they're meant to be pretty good in Zandvoort. There's Ekstrom started from the pole. What happened?
Kind of the tragic figure of the Nurburgring, of the race today. What happened at the start?
Yeah, I had a bad start off the line. Then I braked for the first corner. I didn't get the gear down as I want, and then I locked the front wheel, and then it was a big mess. And then the first couple of corners, it was a bit wet and damp, and then I lost some more spots, so it was really bad. And then after this, we were also slow. So
now, Bruno Spengler is 19 points ahead of you. Does that still mean, though, that the title is kind of in reach?
When it's only, I'm not sure if it's how many points is still to race for, but I think it's like 5. So
6.
60 points to race for, and he have 20 points, so sure he have a good advantage now.
Let's check out that championship situation then. Spengler with the 42, Green with 26, then Paffett and de Resta both on 25, and then Ekstrom has 23.
You've now got 25 points all in all, which means long way to reach Bruno Spengler, but nevertheless, are you still optimistic for the title?
Absolutely. You know, we showed today we've got good pace. On Friday I struggled. We made the car better over the weekend, and in the race pace was good. I didn't have any new tyres left for the race, so I was a bit of a disadvantage to Paul and Bruno, but had a good fight with Timo, and the pace was good. So, you know, going to Zandvoort, one of my favourite circuits, next race, hopefully I can go there, improve by a couple of places and win the race. But it's a great feeling to be, you know, back on the podium.
Paul won't be ecstatic about being second.
So are you a little disappointed you didn't make the victory?
Yeah, I suppose I am quite a little bit disappointed. Very strong in the first stint. I think we had a very strong race pace today, but you know, qualifying wasn't good enough, and I wasn't starting at the front. I think had we done, it looked very good. But second, still a lot of points. Only problem is it's a bit bigger to Bruno. But you know, as long as we're moving up in the championship and not down, you have to be happy with that.
There is Spengler in his car, and then in Parc Fermé, and this boy knows how to celebrate. I've won, and a kiss from my car.
Congratulations, you've now got 42 points, that's excellent.
Well, yeah, I'm very happy. I'm more than happy today, actually. It was a great race, great team result, especially 1, 2 and 3. That's really good for the team. The guys are working so hard. They improved our car so much. Big thank you to them. We have a big team behind us, and that's very important. And today, yeah, 1, 2 and 3, and I'm really happy to win this race. It was my target today to win, and I achieved that, and together with my team, and we are very happy today.
And hello, the title is getting closer and closer.
Yeah, well, every race it's getting a bit closer, but it's still a very long way, and I don't want to think too much about that. I'm really happy today to have these points, and then we see for the rest of the races. I will concentrate myself the same for every races, and then we see at the end if it's enough to win.
Yeah, celebrations from Mercedes-Benz, certainly a day for them to savour. Great drive by Bruno Spengler. Well, fortunately the rain held off, but everyone getting a little wet here on the podium at the Nurburgring. And now a final word from Verena.
Now, that certainly was a very exciting race, almost as unpredictable as the weather here at the Nürburgring. And I'm looking forward to a very exciting race weekend in Zandvoort in 2 weeks when the second half of the season is about to begin. And we'll see if Mercedes-Benz will be able to keep up, because they certainly are happy to be celebrating a triple victory here at Nürburgring. And of course, Matthias Ekström being a very tragic figure from pole position to P7. But let me tell you, you don't want to miss Zandvoort in 2 weeks. It's going to be very exciting. See you then.
Yeah, thanks very much, Verena. Well, that's about it also from me, Andrew Marriott. As Verena said, the second half of the season starting in Zandvoort. A lot of racing to go yet. Will Audi be able to fight back? There was the Pramac accident we didn't see in the earlier coverage. So Mercedes-Benz on top, but Audi for sure will fight back. But that's about it for this week. So for now, it's so long.